AskReddit. What weird thing did somebody tell you that they shouldn't have felt so comfortable telling you? Years ago, I lived in Florida. My girlfriend, now wife, and I went to a Chili's one night to get some drinks with her co-workers. After they left, we went back inside to the bar for one more drink because it was still early and we lived nearby. This older guy walks in and sits down a few stools away from us and immediately starts giving us some light-hearted shit about football, then notices my girlfriend typing something on her phone. Within 60 seconds of meeting us, he decided to drop this. "Oh, you like looking things up on them phones, huh? Google my name." We Google his name and the first result is a news article that names him as the victim of an attempted murder-suicide by his wife. She shot him in the head, then shot herself in the head right after. She died. He didn't. Police came after a call of shots fired. They found him unconscious but alive, med-flighted him to a hospital, and he woke up later that day, and that was his icebreaker story. A strange coworker, whom I wasn't ever close with, decided to tell me at work, across the entire office, that she and her husband were having marital problems due to lack of sex. He wanted more sex, but since she wasn't trying to get pregnant, she didn't see the point and said he needed to get over it. This happened loudly, out of nowhere and with no prompting. What made it more uncomfortable was that she was our person. Chatting with another mom at the park. Now we can chat about some pretty weird things. Like, discussing your kids' pooping habits would be a normal conversation. Even to some extent discussing how things are going the bedroom isn't that weird. But I've had some weird things other moms have confided to me. The one that stands out was a mom who confessed she was a closeted lesbian in a loveless marriage who has a huge crush on her teenage son's girlfriend. It got even weirder too. Well, go on. Everyone is expecting some PRNO story here. It wasn't like that, lol. How it got weirder. She was spying on her son's text message for implied reasons she said was trying to catch her son and his GF having sex, and she was constantly texting her. I didn't ask a lot of questions, but she would just tell me everything. Business partner of my then boss that had just introduced himself to me. "Nice team you've got here. We should all go on a trip to Thailand together. You conduct prostitutes without protection over there. They all have documents from their doctors showing that they're clean." Dude was also married, with 2 young daughters. What the actual duck? Managed a restaurant and a man was there to service the building. HVAC or something. He seems anxious and starts rattling on about his girlfriend and then her brother and how said brother ducked a cow. Immediately apologizes. "I don't know why I said that. I probably shouldn't have told you that. Sorry." My sister told me she was getting her tonsils out so that she would give better addition. Me sits down for my lunch break at work. Random coworker comes and sits down and says to me, "So, I've been watching Cartoon Monster PRN. Waiting to get my windshield replaced a few weeks back. An older gentleman tried to hook me up with his son, then went on to tell me about his wife, who had died 8 months ago, and his son's relationship with his ex-girlfriend. She was pretending to be pregnant. This son is also on the autism spectrum, though not as bad as the good doctor, has psoriasis, and works at the deli counter of a grocery store, where he was forced to wear long sleeves because people were complaining that his skin was flaking into their meat. All within about a half hour or so. I have what is called a mother confessor face. I don't know if this qualifies, but some drunk girl said I would be a nice weekday only boyfriend very casually, and that felt like a very backhanded compliment to drop on me so suddenly. My coworker went into great detail, including a hand-drawn diagram, about how constipated she was after one of her C-sections. She said she was so uncomfortable that she asked her husband to try to dig some of the poo out of her, but with his finger. So she put a towel down on the bed, laid on her side, and he got to work. After some successful digging, she rolled over and noticed a butter knife on the bedside table and asked what it was doing there, to which he responded, "Well, it was too hard for my fingers. We are nurses." She told this story at the desk to a group of at least 5 people. We were all mortified. cashier at Street Louis Breadco informing me she's on her period and flowing very heavily. I get it, I'm a fellow woman, but damn. It's a restaurant. Over my working life, different women coworkers have shared some pretty intimate things. Having the runs. How much difficulty she had getting her BF to duck her. Explaining her dating/SIL history of the prior 7 years, with diagrams. The diagrams woman sounds funny though. Yeah, I'm picturing her in a pantsuit and with a laser point presenting her figures. As you can see, in 2016 there were several rough quarters where nobody was buying. Okay, Starbucks barista here. I was working the drive-thru and some lady comes in asking for an iced coffee with heavy cream. I pay it no mind as it's not even close to my weirdest order. She gets to the window and starts trying to explain the motives behind getting this drink. By the way, I'm not getting this for the caffeine. I'm constipated. Whatever still hasn't fazed me. I'm used to weird shit like this. She continued, I tried an enema 2 days ago, and that bullshit didn't work at all. That's where I had to stop and go to the back to breathe. I was not ready for that. A while ago, my now wife, then, my fiance, and I were preparing to get married here in Austin. We spent several Sundays visiting some of the churches in the area that might serve as the ceremony venue to get a feel for them. We visited one beautiful, fairly large, older church near downtown. At the appropriate time in the service, the minister/priest, an older gentleman, roughly late 60s-ish, started giving an odd sermon about tithing and how the parishioners had been letting the church down, and in a way they were stealing from God by not giving enough. It was a bit of a strange one. And it didn't seem well constructed and thought out, much more on the fly than sermons I was used to. Anyway, after about 10 minutes of this, he wrapped up and asked everyone to bow their heads for prayer, then immediately walked off the stage and started walking down the aisle. My wife and I were about 2/3 of the way back and in an empty row. The service was not particularly well attended. I'm thinking to myself, well, that was kind of a weird. What's he doing? He's heading toward us. Oh, God. While the congregation was still mid-group prayer, he walked to our row and then slid all the way in until he was right next to me. Everyone was watching him and now us as they are fathered or whatever it was. We finished the prayer and then sat down for the offering and a song. He then leaned over and whispered, "Good morning." We shook hands and he continued, "I wanted to let you know that I just had a mental breakdown up there a moment ago." Oh. Hey, that's alright. I thought it was great. I stammered in reply, "You're kind, but no. I'm kind of falling apart. I saw you two come in and recognized you and knew. I didn't want you to take that sermon as typical of our congregation. I have to get going. It was a pleasure meeting you both." And he got up and walked right out the back door. We didn't choose that church. Dude, it's time for that guy to take a break and get some counseling, at the least. My sociology professor decades ago smoking outside of class with some of the guys as I was walking into the building. Me, is the school going to give you crap for smoking with your students? Him, I could be doing something else with my students, if you're interested. And he winked. My coworker told me he ducks his ex while choking her sometimes. About 1 to 2 years ago, I worked in a clothing store. One day, an elderly lady came into our store. I asked her if she wanted some help, and she said yes. We found what she was looking for, and she left afterwards. All good. She came in again about a week later, and looked around the store. After a while, she started talking to me. Now, I'm a pretty open person and a good listener, but I definitely felt like she crossed a line when she told me about the time she was pregnant and her ex-husband kicked her in the stomach and killed their baby. I felt sad for her, but we'd only chatted 1 to 2 times before, so for her to be telling me this made me feel very uncomfortable, especially since she talked to me like we were longtime friends. She's probably on some pharmaceutical, numb to her trauma, doesn't realize what she's doing.